All right, everyone. I've seen Spider-Man. I gotta say, I enjoyed the movie. It was fantastic. I'm not someone who is a big fan of this particular Spider-Man. I personally call him Iron Boy for the longest time. Tom Holland has proven me wrong. He has become Spider-Man. Now, it took him a couple films to do it, but he's finally done it. Now, I've not seen the last one. I heard from people that that is where he really became Spider-Man. So maybe I'm just a little bit late to this horse, but I had to get on board for this one. I'm so glad I did. Tom Holland, hats off to you, sir. You did a fantastic job. I even heard there's some rumors out there that he was part of the rewriting script part of this and helped develop it. And you can kind of feel that throughout the part of this film when you have emotional scenes that aren't immediately followed up by the crude or crass Marvel humor. Yes, it seeps in every now and then, but not too much. You can let deep and sad moments remain deep and sad. And I personally love that. It's giving us that authentic Peter Parker that I didn't feel like we got in the first two Spider Man films. And this one, we're finally getting it. Overall, Spider Man was fantastic, but the film does struggle in some areas. The villains, for example. The villains are okay. They struggle a little bit. They could have been cleaned up a little bit better, a little bit better explanation. I would have liked it a little bit tighter with their stories. Like you have 80 to 90% there with a great villain. You just need that last 10%. And they just couldn't do, in my opinion. Now, I want to hear your thoughts on that down below. What are your thoughts on the villains? I thought they could have done a little bit better job. I'm going to be completely honest. You had the Punisher in the film, which is part of the advertising. I thought uh, Bernthal did a great job with the role again. Didn't really bring anything new to the role. I thought he did okay. Very toned down from the Punisher I personally like. So I give the Punisher probably like a C to D rating, but he's not in the film all that much. So that's just more like a cameo side character that shows up every now and then. I just would prefer a little more brutalistic Punisher, but that's not really what you're going to get in this particular movie. Just something I would like. But I did like the dynamic between Spider-Man and the Punisher. I thought they had a good back and forth going. I did like that kind of buddy cop aspect going on with the characters there. Now, you do have some people out there talking about, well, what about Zendaya and Peter Parker's friend? Were they causing an issue? And I didn't really have a big problem with them too much. I can see where some people have some issues with these characters being brought back in after I've heard what happened in the last film. So I understand why some people would have an issue, but I don't really think they detracted at all from the story. In fact, I think they helped tell a better Spider-Man story with them in it. So I'm personally okay with it. And let me just say, I am shocked that Zendaya has more than one emotion of just this. I'm amazed. Like she actually shows a lot of versatile emotion, and you actually feel for her. I'm gonna say, like, wow, I didn't think she could do that. Maybe that's just me being a bit too harsh on her. I didn't see what was that show, Equilibrium, or something that she was with Sydney Sweeney on. I can't remember the name of the show. I'll put it here. I guess maybe she was on there and could demonstrate a lot of emotion, but just from what I've seen from the Dune movies, from the Spider-Man movies, I never thought she had necessarily a great range of emotion, and especially shown in the Odyssey. So I didn't think she was that good of an actress, but I'm gonna be honest, I really felt for her in several scenes within this movie. So I thought she was well done there. The fight scenes were fantastic. Honestly, this harkens back to me from the Tobey Maguire movies with his fight scenes. I thought this was one of the top-notch films when it comes to choreographing Spider-Man fight scenes. I thought they did a good job there. The visuals, I want to say, was fantastic. You actually saw colors, brightness. It wasn't just muted like we've seen in a lot of these Marvel films, so I'm glad that we got a little bit differential there. I thought the soundtracks, honestly, were all really good. I didn't really have an issue there at all, so thumbs up there. The only parts I would really want to work on is probably the third part of the movie. It drags. You get a part in the film where you can stop it and just be done with the story. But then the film goes on for another 20 to 30 minutes, and the film suffers for it. I'm going to be honest. That either needs to get cleaned up, needs to be better taken care of. That last 20 to 30 minutes isn't that great. There are some redeeming qualities in it, don't get me wrong, but there's such a long dead pause in it that makes you feel like, okay, this is where one movie should be ending, and we should have Spider-Man Brand New Day Part 2 starting here. I'm just gonna be honest here. That's kind of what I felt. Doesn't take away from the greatness of the movie overall, but it does drop it in my personal opinion. Now, with that said, I am going to start talking about some spoilers here. I've been trying to just talk about the film in generalities, but if you don't want to be spoiled, I'll just stop it here. But there are some things that I personally want to talk about. So, without further ado, let's jump in. I personally loved it when Peter went to Mark Ruffalo, the Hulk, Bruce Banner, and talk to him about the way he can control his genome and the differences that's going on with him. We see how he had to deal with that situation. I liked how that all worked together and how over the course how that became a major plot point. Though it does beg the question, how exactly is this going to affect the mutants into the future with this particular chip being developed? Because now the government has it, and presumably you can just stick this onto any mutant and it's just going to power them down. That's a wild technology that I'm not even sure that they had that in most of the X-Men comics until like later on in the story. And you're having that technology already developed before you even bring in the X-Men. And talking about the X-Men, you have Jean Grey coming in, and she's one of the biggest issues with the film, and that's because she kills a dude. Now, you can make an argument maybe she kills several people, but there's at least one dude who gets nailed by a car that if he's not dead, he is going to be in serious, serious recovery for a long time because of what she has done. And she doesn't really get punished for it. Like, yes, you get a tragic story. You understand where Jean Grey is coming from. They never paint her as heroic, thankfully. She tries to educate Peter a couple times, but Peter pushes back and actually educates her. So I like that aspect. Peter Parker, Spider Man, has never downplayed in his own movie, but I think it could have been handled better. And really, if they would have just had like Emma Frost, as some people recommend, or some other psychic doing these crazy, wild things, then I think people would be more forgiving. But because it's not Jean Grey, I think that's where people have more of an issue, in my personal opinion. With that said, if they would have just done like, hey, we're going to have to send you away to prison because of what you've done, or we're going to have to send you to a special school for kids with special abilities, then people would be more okay with that, I think. With that said, there are some aspects that, besides Jean Grey, are also some issues with the film. Primarily when you see the touches of Marvel coming in, you have that with Yelena, the new Black Widow, when she's going on like, "I deal with big potatoes, you are small potatoes." I didn't really much enjoy that. That was Marvel trying to put their slapstick humor into it. It just didn't work for me. I was like, can we please just move on, wrap this up? It felt like that was reshoots by Marvel to force their characters in and to remind you, like, hey, Yelena, she's gonna be in Avengers Doomsday, people. Aren't you excited? Not really. Mark Ruffalo, the Hulk, was serviceable. I'm not going to say anything too much about it. It was at least okay. The Hulk scenes were fantastic, but you definitely felt the touches of Marvel with that in there, and that's just some of the issues I have with that parts of the film. I did like how they actually made a black character the primary villain who ended up damaging Jean Grey's sister and ending her life, making him the actual villain, because you usually don't see that in Marvel Sony movies. So it was a nice change of pace, kind of unexpected to see that happen, which is kind of wild. Also, I don't think Jean Grey ever had a sister in the comic lore. Let me know, comic fans. Did Jean Grey have a sister? Because as far as I know, that's something that she hasn't had. But I'm going to be completely honest. I'm mostly a fan from the cartoons and the movies, not necessarily a big fan of the comics themselves. So correct me down below if you wouldn't mind. With that, overall, I thought it was mostly good. I understand people's issues with um, MJ meeting up with Peter Parker and them reconnecting, and her reading a note that he wrote because he wanted to reconnect with them, and him struggling with being alone. I know a lot of people have an issue with the whole aspect, and I talked about it previously in this review, but I didn't mind it. I thought, especially in this day and age where it's hard to make connections, I thought it fed on the real loneliness that a lot of people feel. I thought it fed on that wonderfully, and I don't think that anything should really be changed from there. With that said, though, I personally give this movie a 7 out of 8. It has issues to me for me to give it a 10 out of 10 or a 9 or a full on 8, but it does deserve a 7 to 8 because of the performance of Tom Holland, the story that we got, the performance from everybody was just top notch. Uh, I also love the neighborhood aspect, how uh, Peter Parker Spider Man is friends with the cops, he's helping clean up New York. He's doing great. He's fully gone into the role of Spider-Man. Like, I loved it so much. But with that said, I want to hear what you guys' thoughts are down below. Oh, before I go, I do want to mention that this film has reached $1 billion over the course of a weekend. Isn't that wild? From what my understanding is, only Infinity War was close to doing that, and is just beat him out for all that. Is my understanding. Now, correct me about that down below, but it's just what I heard as well. But that's just wow, man. This film definitely deserves it. I can't wait to see it get that $2 billion. And I wonder how long it'll be in the theaters. I predict this will probably be in the theaters till end of September, maybe even into October. But I want to hear what your guys' thoughts are. What do you think of this movie? Am I just hyping up too much? Is this actually trash? Should they not have made this movie? What would you have changed? I want to hear your thoughts down below. Leave a like if you liked the video. Leave a dislike if you did not. And I'll catch y'all later. Y'all take care now. Bye.